There is a reason some people work harder every year and still feel like money runs away from them. And there is a reason some people seem to step into a different current, a quieter current, a steadier current, where opportunities appear, where support arrives, where wealth stops feeling like a chase and starts feeling like circulation. Today, I'm going to give you 10 ritual practices. Not empty superstition, not fantasy, not dramatic promises. Real practices from ancient cultures, Chinese traditions, Indian traditions, Japanese traditions. But I will explain them in a way that is honest and usable today. Because the real power of ritual is not that the universe is fooled by candles and coins. The power is that your nervous system changes, your attention sharpens, your identity shifts, your behavior becomes consistent. And consistency is what turns potential into wealth. Here is the deal. The last ritual is the most important one. It is the one that quietly controls whether all the other rituals actually work. So watch until the end. Because if you skip the last one, you may do everything right and still feel stuck. And as you listen, I want you to treat this video like an ancient manuscript you just discovered, a manual for the inner mechanism that decides wealth. You do not need to believe in everything literally, but you do need to respect the psychology behind it, because the subconscious mind obeys symbols. It obeys repetition, it obeys environment, it obeys emotional tone. And rituals are a way of speaking to that deeper system. If one ritual hits you in the chest, subscribe now, comment the word that comes to you. Calm, alignment, balance, or simply, yes. Now let us begin. Ritual 1. The Chinese corner. Coins. Ritual. In many old Chinese homes, you would find coins placed in deliberate corners, not thrown randomly, not hidden in fear, placed with intention, as if the home itself was being taught a new language, the language of circulation. This is what it symbolizes. Corners are where energy becomes still, where the eye does not normally linger, where dust gathers, where neglect hides. So the act of placing coins in corners is a statement. I do not neglect the places I ignore. I do not allow stagnation to grow in my space. I anchor wealth where I once allowed nothingness. The real reason this actually works is not that coins emit magic. The real reason is that your environment trains your brain. Every day your eyes scan your home and your body responds, even when you are not aware. A home filled with symbols of lack, bills on the table, clutter in the corner, random mess, trains your nervous system into low-grade scarcity. It keeps you tense. It keeps your thinking narrow, and narrow thinking misses money. But a home with deliberate signals. Cleanliness. Order. A few meaningful anchors trains stability. And stability is the state where wealth is noticed and kept. How to do it? First, clean the room, because ritual without cleanliness becomes theatre. You are not decorating, you are resetting the subconscious. Stand at your main entrance. Look into your home. Now identify the far left corner from that entrance. In many traditions, this is called a prosperity corner, but do not obsess over rules. The point is one chosen corner that becomes your anchor. Take 3 coins. If you have old coins that feel meaningful, use those. If you do not, use normal coins and wrap them in a small red cloth. Red in Chinese culture symbolizes life force, warmth, a protective brightness. Again, you do not need to believe it as supernatural, but your brain understands red as alertness and vitality. Place the coins in that corner. Then for 21 days, every morning, stand near that corner for 10 seconds. Breathe slowly and say one calm line. I open myself to wise and continuous abundance. Then immediately do one small wealth action, one short message, one small note written down, one new idea learned, one reminder checked, one thing organized, one simple conversation. Because this is how the ritual becomes real. The corner is the anchor. The action is the proof, and the proof is what convinces the subconscious. If you do only symbols, you create fantasy. If you do only action, you may create exhaustion. But symbol plus action creates identity, and identity is what produces wealth. Keep watching, because later I will show you the one ritual that makes your actions feel effortless instead of forced. Ritual 2. The Indian Lakshmi lamp practice across India. In homes and temples, a lamp is lit not just for light, but as a reminder that the inner world must be bright if the outer world is to flourish. Lakshmi is not only a goddess of money. In deeper tradition, she represents auspiciousness, harmony, beauty, good fortune that comes from order, not chaos. The real mechanism behind this working is this. Light rituals regulate the nervous system. They signal safety, they slow breathing, they bring attention into the present, and gratitude shifts the brain away from threat scanning. When you are constantly scanning for threat, you cannot build wealth. You only survive. When you move into gratitude, your brain becomes creative, and creativity is the father of opportunity. How to do it? Choose a small corner or shelf that is clean, not because the divine demands perfection, but because your subconscious needs a clear signal. At dusk, light a small ghee lamp or a candle if that is what you have. Place one simple offering, a flower, a small bowl of rice, a piece of fruit. Nothing extravagant. Sit for 2 minutes, look at the flame. Do not beg, do not plead, do not chase. Just breathe and let the flame teach you steadiness. Then speak one line. May my work be worthy and my rewards be steady. Then here is the key. Write one action for tomorrow that honors wealth. One action that increases value. One action that strengthens skill. One action that protects money. This keeps the ritual genuine because the flame becomes a mirror and your action becomes the offering. And if you feel this is meaningful, pause and subscribe, because you are building a library of practices that can change your entire year. Ritual 3, the Japanese misogi hand wash reset. In Japan, purification rituals are not dramatic. They are simple, quiet, precise, because the mind is trained through small daily acts. Misogi is cleansing, not only of dirt, but of mental residue, the residue of fear, the residue of failure, the residue of shame. And shame is one of the biggest wealth blockers on earth. Now pay attention, this is why it actually works. There is a psychological phenomenon called the fresh start effect. When you create a clean boundary between before and after, your motivation increases, your follow-through improves. Your brain releases old identity and becomes more willing to act. How to do it? Go to a sink. Run cool water. Not freezing, just cool enough to wake you up. Wash your hands slowly for 30 to 60 seconds. As you wash, imagine releasing one specific financial pattern. Not vague. Specific. Maybe it is impulsive spending. Maybe it is procrastination. Maybe it is underpricing. Maybe it is fear of being seen. Then dry your hands carefully. Drying is part of the ritual because it signals completion. Now say one clear decision out loud. My income is stable, growing, and well managed. Then immediately do a 5-minute task you have been avoiding. Do not wait for mood. Do not negotiate. Just move. Because the subconscious learns from movement. This is a ritual for people who are tired of motivation videos and want a quiet lever that actually changes behavior. Ritual 4, the Chinese sweep toward the door, prosperity cleanse. In many old households, sweeping was not just cleaning, it was a deliberate act, a way of restoring flow. Because stagnation is not only physical, it is mental. Here is the honest reason this works. Clutter increases cognitive load, it drains focus, it makes decisions harder, it subtly increases anxiety, and anxiety creates poor money decisions. An anxious person buys to soothe, avoids hard conversations, and delays strategic action. How to do it? Pick one room, open a window. Let air move. Now sweep or wipe surfaces from the back of the room toward the door, slowly with attention. As you do it, repeat softly. I remove what blocks circulation. Then when you finish, place one object that represents growth in a visible place. A notebook, a book, a budget sheet, a business plan. Your resume. Something that says, "We build here." This ritual is powerful because it changes the emotional tone of your environment, and your environment changes your mind, and your mind changes your money. Ritual 5, the Indian Dan. Giving ritual with boundaries. In many spiritual traditions, giving is praised, but most people misunderstand giving. They think giving means draining themselves, or giving means proving goodness. That is not wealth, consciousness. That is a hidden guilt pattern. True Dan is conscious. Balanced wise, it says, "I trust circulation and I respect stability." Here is the honest reason this works. Giving reduces scarcity identity. It tells the subconscious, we have enough to share. That feeling softens fear, and fear is what creates hoarding and panic decisions. But boundaries matter, because without boundaries, giving becomes self-sabotage. The subconscious learns money leaves and never returns, and that becomes your reality. How to do it? Once a week, choose a small act of giving food to someone. Donation to a cause. Support to a person. Even giving time or knowledge. Do it quietly. No performance. No announcement. Because the ritual is for your nervous system, not your ego. Then immediately after, save or invest a small amount, even a tiny amount, because you are teaching balance, you are telling the subconscious, we give and we keep, we circulate and we protect. This creates a powerful inner message. Wealth is safe because we are wise with it. If you are still with me, comment circulation, because that one word can become your new identity. Ritual 6, the Japanese Kakeibo Money Journal. Ritual. Kakeibo is not flashy, it is not motivational, it is not magical, it is quietly revolutionary. It is a practice where you treat money as something you relate to with calm awareness, not fear, not avoidance. Here is the honest reason it works. Tracking increases awareness. Awareness reduces impulsivity, and consistent awareness is one of the strongest predictors of wealth building. People lose money not because they are evil, but because they are unconscious. They spend emotionally, they avoid numbers, they delay planning, and then they pay a tax called chaos. Kakeibo removes chaos. How to do it? Every night, write 4 lines. What came in today? What went out today? What was necessary? What was emotional? Then write one final line. Tomorrow I spend like a wise guardian. Do not shame yourself. The purpose is not guilt, the purpose is clarity. Clarity is freedom. Clarity is inner power. If you want a stable mind, you need stable seeing, and this ritual trains seeing. Ritual 7. Indian Japa. Repetition for wealth identity. Mantra repetition is one of the oldest technologies on Earth. Not because it forces reality, but because it shapes the inner atmosphere, and the inner atmosphere shapes action. Here is the honest reason it works. Repetition paired with steady breathing activates calm circuits in the nervous system. Calm circuits produce patience. Patience produces consistency. And consistency is what builds wealth slowly and surely. The subconscious does not respond to desperate affirmations, but it responds to calm repetition, because calm feels safe. How to do it? Choose a phrase that does not trigger inner argument. Instead of saying, I am rich, say steady income, wise action, or prosperity with peace or abundance through service. Use a mala if you have one, or simply count on your fingers. Repeat for 108 repetitions, slowly, softly, with breath. Then end by doing one practical thing. One action that increases value. One action that increases income. one action that reduces waste. This keeps mantra genuine because sound becomes state, state becomes behavior, behavior becomes results. Ritual 8. Chinese tea, offering to invite flow. In Chinese culture, tea is not just a drink, it is a ritual of harmony, respect, presence, and clear relationship. Here is the honest reason this works. When you slow down and do something with elegance, your subconscious receives a message. I am a person who lives with dignity, and dignity changes how you negotiate, how you price, how you show up, how you tolerate disrespect, how you handle money. People with dignity do not chase. They choose how to do it. Prepare tea slowly. No phone, no rushing. Let it be deliberate. Pour 1 cup and place it aside for 1 minute as an offering. You can offer it to ancestors, mentors, or simply to the principle of wisdom. During that minute, ask one question. What is the most intelligent next step for my income? Do not force an answer. Let the mind settle. Then write what comes. Even if it is small, call that person. Post that offer. Finish that proposal. Stop that habit. Raise that price slightly. Learn that skill. This is how tea becomes a wealth practice. Not because tea summons money, but because tea summons clarity, and clarity summons money. Ritual 9. Japanese enjimono, symbol placement. In Japan, people use symbolic objects not as superstition alone, but as a quiet contract, a promise to the self. A Dharma doll is a perfect example. You paint one eye when you set a goal and the other when you complete it. It is not magic, it is accountability in symbolic form. Here is the honest reason this works. Symbols act as triggers. They initiate habit loops, they remind the brain of commitment, and the subconscious obeys commitment when it is visible. How to do it? Place a symbolic object near your work area. A daruma, a coin, a small bell, a written talisman, even a simple stone. Give it one meaning: I finish what I start. Now every time you sit down to work, touch the object once, then complete one small task before you check your phone. One email, one edit, one post, one outreach, one financial check, one learning session. The goal is to train your mind into completion. Because completion is what separates dreamers from builders, and builders attract wealth. Now listen carefully. We have reached the point where many people stop. They think they now have enough rituals, they feel excited, they feel hopeful. And then after 2 days, they forget. After 1 week, they drift. After a month, they say nothing changed. Why? Because the hidden system did not change. Their behavior changed for a moment, but their identity did not change. That is why the last ritual matters. It is the ritual that trains identity through boundaries. It is simple. It is ancient. It is quietly terrifying if you avoid it, and it is quietly liberating if you master it. This is the best ritual. So stay with me, because this is the one that controls whether wealth stays. Ritual 10, the threshold ritual, the sacred doorway practice, the one that decides everything. Across cultures, doorways were treated as sacred. In India, you find symbols above entrances. In China, you find protective and auspicious signs. In Japan, you find deliberate transitions, because a doorway is not just a space, it is a boundary between worlds, and wealth is always decided at boundaries. Here is what I mean. A boundary is the moment you choose what enters your mind, what enters your day, what enters your behavior, what enters your identity. Most people lose wealth, not because they lack rituals, but because they have no boundaries. They let stress enter, they let negativity enter, they let distraction enter, they let other people's opinions enter, they let fear enter, and then they wonder why money feels unstable. Money mirrors boundaries because money is value, and value requires structure. Here is the honest reason this works. This ritual trains interruption. It breaks automatic scripts. It tells your nervous system, I am not a prisoner of my old patterns. I choose, and choice is power. If you do not master thresholds, you will live in default mode. And default mode repeats your past. If you master thresholds, you begin to design your future. How to do it? Every morning before you leave your home, pause at the doorway. Do not rush past it. Do not scroll on your phone while stepping out. Stop. Take 3 breaths, slow and steady. Now say one line. Today I act from abundance, not anxiety. Then step out with a calm body. Shoulders relaxed, jaw soft, face steady. Because you are teaching your nervous system that life is safe. Now here is the part most people forget. When you return home. Pause again at the threshold. 1 breath, then release work, stress. Say softly, I leave the day outside. I enter peace inside. Why does this matter for wealth? Because a mind that never rests becomes reactive. A reactive mind spends emotionally, avoids planning, avoids hard conversations and creates chaos. This ritual protects your inner climate, and your inner climate controls your financial life. Now I want to take it deeper. You can add a vow inside this ritual. A single golden minute. The golden minute is the moment after the threshold pause, where you perform one small wealth action every day. 1 minute only, but every day. Because daily is what rewires identity. Here is the vow. After I cross the threshold in the morning, I will do 1 minute of wealth action before anything else consumes me. 1 minute can be writing 1 line of a plan, reading 1 page of skill, learning 1 term, following up on 1 client, setting 1 boundary, raising 1 price, slightly, stopping 1 impulse, purchase. Do you see what this does? It makes wealth part of identity, not a weekend dream, not a motivational fantasy, not a crisis reaction, but a daily rhythm. This is the real secret. Ritual is rhythm. Rhythm is identity. Identity is destiny. Now let me give you a closing mystery that is actually practical. Most people think wealth is created by big moves, a huge decision, a sudden breakthrough, a viral moment, a perfect plan. Sometimes that happens, but most stable wealth is created by small rituals done consistently with calm. The ancient mind understood this. That is why rituals were daily, not occasional. Because the subconscious is trained by what repeats, not by what inspires for a moment. So here is how you use these 10 rituals without becoming overwhelmed. Choose 2 rituals only for the next 21 days. 1 environmental ritual and 1 internal ritual. For example, corner coins plus kakebo, or lamp plus mantra, or tea offering plus threshold ritual, but always include the threshold ritual. Because it is the master key. It protects your attention, and what you protect becomes your life. Now before we end, let me weave the final truth of this entire video. Wealth is not only money. Wealth is stability, clarity, freedom from unnecessary fear, and the ability to create value again and again. That is real prosperity. If this video brought you clarity, subscribe to the channel. More long-form teachings on wealth, inner freedom, and conscious success are coming. And if you made it to the end, comment threshold. Because that tells me you are serious, not excited. Serious. Share this video with 1 person who works hard but feels stuck. Because sometimes a single ritual changes a year. Not because it is magical, but because it changes the hidden system. And remember, the most important ritual is the one you repeat. The one you live, the one that becomes your normal, calm consistency, and a mind that feels safe enough to receive. That is how wealth is decided. That is how wealth is kept. And that is how wealth becomes freedom.